Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to Women Who Own It, the podcast brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses. And I am your host, Allison Maslin. I'm the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to grow and scale their business. Now, Women Who Own It is brought to you by women business leaders for women business leaders. And we're here to make the road just a little bit easier for you, bringing on amazing business owners to share their journey, their inspiration, their wisdom, their obstacles that they have overcome to make the road easier for you. And today I'm super excited because we definitely have a business superstar. Her name is Katie McCarron, and she is the founder of Portland Pet Food Company, a global manufacturer of human-grade dog meals and treats based in Portland, Oregon. Katie launched PPFC in 2014 after finding success formulating meals at home for her aging poodle, Rosie. Now, today, using the same recipe she's developed for Rosie, PPFC provides dogs across the USA, Canada, and Japan with products that are free of preservatives, additives, or artificial ingredients, all the stuff we don't want our dogs to have. With an emphasis on local sourcing and sustainability, PPFC's mission is to provide dogs with the same quality food that their humans eat. Now, that makes so much sense. Prior to this business, her first business, Academic Network LLC, provided educational programs for international food and pharmaceutical companies. As president and CEO, she educated medical advisory consultants on how to speak with consumers about nutrition. Now, in 2008, Katie sold Academic Network and focused on engaging with women-owned business organizations and support activities. So, Katie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, look, dogs are like one of my favorite topics. I've got 2 dogs myself that are a big part of my heart. So can you share with everyone what led you to becoming a business owner in the first place and then creator of Portland Pet Food Company?
Well, I think I've always had the knack of wanting to run a business. And obviously I'd run Academic Network. I was happily retired. I was caring for an elderly mother at the time and was very fortunate to have that time with her before she passed away. But Rosie, too, is getting older, and she'd been my best friend and gotten me through so many things in life. And the vet had really given up on her, said, she's 14 and a half. I think this is just her time. She's stopped eating, was losing weight. And I thought, well, I'm not sure that this is her time. So I started researching about pet food. I started working with some different recipes, and lo and behold, Rosie started eating. She gained weight, and she only ate Portland pet food recipes, and she lived to be almost 17 years old.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
During that time, as I researched the industry and worked with the Oregon Food Innovation Center on formulations, well, it was started at home. We always formulated the meals for the dog's nutritional needs. And just decided we need to share this with others.
Wow. Did you go back to that vet and let him know that she lived another almost 3 years?
Yes, he did still take care of her, but we would have a lot of conversations regarding this.
Yeah, I bet. Well, that's such a great story. And, obviously you had a powerful why to get you motivated and helped your dog so much. And, obviously others have the need too, because we all want our dogs to live as long as possible. Now, you also talk about the food being ethical, sustainable, food you could eat yourself. Why was this important to you?
After researching the industry and educating myself about what was actually in pet food, I wanted to give just wholesome ingredients. Most pet food is made from rendered animals. Thus, those are animals that have either need to be destroyed, they're diseased, they're older, and they're sent to what's called a rendering plant. The problem is the meats can be mixed in with all sorts of different types of proteins, and it has to be cooked at such a high level to destroy a lot of the. It destroys the bacteria, but it also destroys the nutrients, and thus we believed that you can get the nutrients that you need from whole foods. With pet food, they have to add back in synthetic nutrients and vitamins that are destroyed within the rendering process, and I couldn't guarantee where those were coming from. And thus, we just wanted to stick with whole, pure, natural foods like Mother Nature intended. We have to be marketed as a topper, mixer, or supplemental meal because we chose not to supplement. Um, Many people are using this as a standalone meal. A lot of people who have fed their dogs a raw diet find it very convenient for traveling because it's in a shelf stable pouch. It's shelf stable for 2 years, but no preservatives or additives to it. So we're really leaving it up to the owner to learn and be educated about what is actually in pet food and that they have a choice here.
Yeah, because I think most people do not know, right? They just take what's recommended to them.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's phenomenal that you're making a difference.
And we really wanted to stick with all USA ingredients, and that's almost impossible when you go in to add the nutrients back in and some of the vitamins. Most of those are from offshore, if not all of them.
So what were you, I mean, probably some of the things you already shared, but was there anything else that you learned about the pet industry that you were surprised to find out at the time?
No, I think that was the main thing. I mean, I shouldn't have been too surprised having come from my previous business, which was educating consumers about human food. But I was quite appalled to see what is actually in a lot of pet food. And we believe that even adding in 20% of wholesome ingredients, whether it's a product like ours, or you use natural chicken from home or something, if you can even add like 20% to a kibble, improves the diet for a dog. And there has been studies done that is showing just adding natural ingredients back into a dog's diet, their coats will be shinier, their health is better. I wouldn't want to eat the same thing every day, so why should your dog?
Yeah,
Needs a little
exactly.
variety.
Exactly. So now I would imagine, and like you just said, your past business, education, nutrition, speaking, that helped prepare you for this second business.
Oh, definitely, very much so. Having that background, it's been very, very helpful with this new business. Obviously, you don't always have the opportunity, when you're on a grocery shelf to educate folks, but we do work through it with our packaging and our shelf sleeves, etc. And then we have a lot of information available on our website, and we're very, very interactive on social media too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because I find that when we leave one part of our life and move to another, a lot of times people feel like, oh, I'm saying goodbye to this chapter. But I do really believe that we take that wisdom from the past experiences, past businesses, and carry that forward.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I The learnings I had from my first business, I quite frankly didn't want to get back into running a large business. I kind of been there, done that, but I just really felt this need to help dogs, and the testimonials that we get are so wonderful. So I just put those skills to use and created this company. It's totally different. It was a service industry that I was involved in before. This is a product, consumer product. I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about what a SKU was, what a UPC code was. I had to educate myself in labeling, etc. So I also like to learn new things. So that was also attractive about starting this new business.
Now that you brought that up, Katie, I actually have a question because you ran a service business. Now you're running a product business. Do you find that one is more complicated than the other or that you enjoy more?
I've really enjoyed both. I think there's a lot of skills that overlap into both industries. with a product, there are regulations and guidelines that you really need to follow. And particularly for pet food labeling is very strict. Um, so there was a lot of learnings there. And I found that I think I always like learning new things. And I would say that across the board, service industry, consumer products industry, et cetera. Um, so, there were skills obviously that went between the two businesses, but there was also new learnings, which I find very, very attractive as a business owner.
Now, the dog food industry is super competitive. There are a lot of brands on the market. And, a lot of times business owners can get caught up in the competition. I think it's not a bad thing to study what's going on. But do you let that motivate you, inspire you, worry you? Or do you just like ignore it and focus on what you do best?
I try to ignore it and focus. I have been asked several times, why don't you supplement your food? Why don't you make it per AFCO guidelines, full and balanced? And there is more education around how to use the topper or mixer. And sometimes I want to, okay, maybe we should go that route. And then I come back to my roots and say, no, that's not what this company is about. This company is about providing a whole food diet, all natural, let the consumer make a choice. I've been involved a lot with human studies and research on human food. I don't believe that the feeding trials that are currently being used for AFCO are sufficient, and there needs to be more research done about feeding trials. Feeding only 8 dogs, typically they're beagles, for 6 months in a very, strict setting. I do not believe gives you an overall picture of what their health will be like. And so we didn't want to do those trials. I didn't believe that was humane for the dogs. And thus we've just stuck to the all natural food.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So you see what's going on, but then you kind of come back to just staying in your, with your why and your mission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like with any business, I'm sure, all of us business owners, we get pressure to change, to do different things. And I do listen, but around this particular point, I have to go back to why I started the business, what people are telling me about the product. And it's my job then to educate folks, to let them know the benefits of this as an alternative.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, because I think it's very easy for a business owner to have a certain mission, but then they get, persuaded by what is going on in the industry and feel like, oh, I need to be doing that, instead of staying, with what your original intention is, or, whatever's meaningful to you. So
right.
That's a good point for sure.
And I think particularly when you're starting, we have 5 SKUs now of the dog meals, and we have 4 strong SKUs that are out in retail of the treats. And there's always the temptation to start to diverse and do different things. And we've just stayed with this. We're a young enough company that I still feel like we need to be focused on these products. There'll be plenty of time to expand our product line later on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, because then you can really dial in those products and get them exactly what you want. I think a lot of times you can have too many products, and there is a saying, a confused mind says no, because first they're deciding, should I work with you? Should I buy from you? And then the second decision is, what should I get? And so a lot of times, with how people are distracted these days, you have to make it really easy for them.
I agree. Yes, definitely.
Now, you've been in business for about 7 years now?
Yes, we started in 2014.
Yeah. So what do you wish you knew when you started that you know now in being a business owner?
Oh, I wish I had known. I'm not sure I would have gotten into food. I got into food because I had a love for this dog. It's very, very complicated. It's highly regulated, which I'm all for. I mean, I'm all for that. In fact, but I get very frustrated when I see people skirting around some of the guidelines. And I wish I'd been a little bit more informed. I wasn't aware even about rendered food at that time. That's not why I started it. I started the company because Rosie really, really did well on this food, and I wanted to share it with others. But I wish I'd known a little bit more also about how expensive it is to launch a food product. It's very, very expensive to get a food product off the ground. As you mentioned before, it's a very, very competitive environment, the pet food industry. There's a lot of money behind some of the major brands.
Yes.
And so it takes a lot to stick with it.
Yeah. I would imagine just because what you do is so different and so needed though, that just continuing to stay the course, that more people are going to continue to find out about you. What have been some of your best growth strategies, Katie, that have really moved the needle for your company?
Oh, absolutely. When you look back in 2020, obviously with COVID, we were well positioned. We were already online. I had launched on Amazon the year before. Plus, we had our own website, and we'd been very discouraged at the beginning when I got into this business. That was, well, I mentioned before, 2014. We were at our first show in 2015, and there was a lot of pet food companies really putting a stake in the ground that they were only going to sell to pet specialty stores. And I just saw that the consumer was really looking at omni channels and they were going to shop in the way that they wanted. And I just felt as though we needed to be available across multiple channels. And so we stuck with that. And the being online last year was very, very necessary for the growth of our business. A lot of the smaller pet specialty stores had to shut down. We continue to support them though. We tried to work with different promotions. We worked with them on curbside pickup because we really do value the in-store experience for our consumer.
Yeah.
But it was very important that we had that online channel available for our consumers too.
Yeah. Smart move. So you weren't scrambling like a lot of people to make that conversion. And so you have, this is your second business, and then you sold that first business. Can you share a little bit about what that was like going through the sale process? And then, transitioning, well, you took some time to take care of your mom, but
right.
In between, but yeah, just kind of going through that, the sale of the business. What did you learn from that experience?
Well, 2008 is when we sold the business, and I did continue to work with the company for about 2.5 years. It was very true that the acquisition folks understood why they were acquiring our company, but once that was over and we were in with the rest of the company, there was some disconnect as to why we were bought. So that was a little bit difficult trying to handle that and understanding that. We weren't looking to sell. We actually had a Fortune 500 company come to us, and they were looking for a call center, which is what we ran at that time, staffed with dietitians and nurses. And they needed that to complement their other general call center services. We were well prepared, which I think is always something that an owner needs to be looking at financially. Our
Right.
books were in great order. And just going through the whole process of evaluating the business and negotiating the price was all of a learning experience. And I'm very glad to have gone through it. But it was all new at the time for sure.
Is there anything that you, besides having your books together, anything you learned like in the negotiation process or anything that you could share for those listening that are like, oh, I need to start preparing for that?
Oh, absolutely. I think having a succession plan, at least thinking about it in place, whether or not you do it or not, is a really good step. We really hadn't gone through any of that process at the time. And we're obviously talking about this now in this second business. I'm talking about it with my family. And I would, as I mentioned before, obviously financially be prepared. Think about what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, when I left Academic Network in 2010, I really was not prepared. I hadn't thought about it at all. And I think thinking about those things early on while you're running a business still is very, very important.
Yeah, I think so. I've sold 4 businesses myself, and I always like
Wow.
went on to something else because I'm like that serial entrepreneur. But I do know some people that have gotten extremely depressed after, like they were all excited about it, but then, had a tough time after. So I think that's great advice to, have the next thing. Even if you're going to take a break, determine, okay, how long is that break before you have that next thing. I think that really helps the psyche.
No, I agree. My husband just told me the other day, you can have no more ideas. So when this is over, we're gonna just go do some things and relax. So I'm
Yeah.
like you, I'm a sort of a serial entrepreneur and always thinking about what's next.
Yeah. I know. My husband says the same thing too. He's like, can't you just relax? And, I'm like, well, not really.
I know. This is sort of my relaxation.
Yeah, I get it. I so get it. And I'm sure that the listeners get that too. Now, challenges can often become our biggest blessings. Can you share one of your, challenges that come up in your mind that you've experienced in your business and how it possibly turned into a win?
Oh boy, every day there's challenges, as you know, in your business. I think that I can't really think of one particular thing, but I definitely do think as I started this second business, um, and it's growing, we've gone from, just a few employees now up to 27. And I think that it's very important to keep communication open. I've started, well, really just in the last year, because we just have expanded our management team. But now we're getting together on a weekly basis, and it's really a time for them to communicate and talk. We don't always have a set agenda, but we've really learned to sort of talk about what we're what our next week is for us and the challenges we have. And in every meeting that's happened, and we've just implemented this a couple months ago, everyone's been saying how helpful it is, because someone will say something and they don't realize how it impacts maybe marketing or sales, and it's something that's in operations. So that's something I've learned, just to try to get the group more together, and spend time talking and planning out the next week, and not focusing so much on what we've accomplished, but where we're going.
Yeah, I love that, because you have so many different areas of the business, right? You've got your production, you've got your marketing, you've got your admin. And oftentimes one department doesn't know what the other is doing and how it's all related, and I think people need to understand, well, why am I doing this task? What is this all about? So that's great insight to share.
I think it's so
And
important, particularly when you've got different facilities in different areas, to try to
Mhm.
get the team together, whether it's actually in one room or via Zoom, but to try to understand what's going on company wide, and why am I doing this in operations? How does it really impact sales or marketing?
Right. And also keeping them inspired too, to why are they remember, ultimately, they're saving these dogs' lives. They're helping them live healthier lives, helping the owners be happier because they have their dogs longer, and I think oftentimes the employees forget about that because they're so into their tasks and getting their work done and meeting deadlines and so forth. So keeping that inspiration high and reminding them of their why is really valuable.
Yes, yes. We did a SWOT analysis about a year and a half ago, and we're going to redo that. And we did it with across the board for everyone, from production staff, bakers, all the way up to senior management, to talk about our strengths and our weaknesses and opportunities and threats. And that was probably one of the best exercises I have ever gone through. And I look forward to the next time that we do it.
Yeah, that is a great one. We do that as well. In fact, we've done that. We do a big team all day meeting twice a year. And normally we all get together. This last time we did it on Zoom. But we did that exact process. And it's so powerful to hear everybody's ideas on, well, first of all, what are the challenges? And then what are some new innovative ways that we could overcome those challenges? So, tapping into your team is so smart because it doesn't have to be all on your shoulders.
Exactly.
So how have you, we're here because of WeBank, Women Who Own It. brought to you by WeBank. And how have you utilized your WeBank certification as support for your business, Katie?
I've utilized it. I utilized it in my past business. I was dealing with larger corporations, and they were looking for, a certain quota of working with women business owners. So that certification worked very well there. In Portland Pet Food, we're just getting started, so we're not dealing with some of the larger retailers yet. But it has come into play. There's what's called slotting fees. Sometimes it can be like $10,000 just to put a product onto a grocery shelf. And some of the larger corporations will waive that for women-owned businesses that are certified. And we've used it in our marketing materials with our larger grocery that we've been dealing with lately. It's also been serving us to be happy to have that certification. And then obviously for myself, just education, webinars, listening to your program, etc., is always really helpful. I love connecting with other women business owners.
Yeah, it's such a powerful network, and all the gamut, the connections, the education, and then, really setting yourself apart with that certification. So for any of you listening right now that are not certified, absolutely you want to go through that process. Now, how do you feel, or how do you deal or feel with the stress and ups and downs of business? For instance, like self-care, or compartmentalizing your worries. Like, how do you deal with those ups and downs?
I'm not great at compartmentalizing, but I do exercise, and I find that a huge stress relief. I've really gotten back into biking in the last year. I think that kind of came out of COVID. So I started biking. I'd done that years ago, but I had not been biking lately. So I've just really realized that I need to have the time to go out and exercise, walk my dog. I just started a new online strength building program, and that's been great for the last 10 weeks. But you have to carve out that time, just like you schedule any other meeting. It's really important, and I'm not the best at it at all. I will be the first to admit that. But I do realize when I'm not exercising or working out, taking time to read a book, etc., I'm actually more stressed. So, well, you're adding more onto your plate and scheduling a workout session or time just to sit back and relax and read. It does have its benefits for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would be going crazy if I wasn't exercising. And that I think what you said is a great tip. You have to treat it like an appointment. You have to schedule it in, or it's so easy to just go, oh, I'll do it later. And then later doesn't happen. But I think as women, we're so used to taking care of everybody else first. And we really have to commit to saying, hey, let's take care of ourselves first. Then we're going to actually have more energy and a clearer head to then take care of others in our business. So I think it's really, really important. And, as we wrap up, Katie, this has been so great today. What are you most excited about in the coming year?
Well, I'm very, very excited. We just we just got into Canada. We've been in Canada last year, but we just got into Pet Value, which is a very large retailer. And now we're going to be doing promotions in Canada. I'm really excited about that. We will be working closely with our current stores that we're in to increase velocity. And we've already seen a couple campaigns have some positive results. And so I'm very, very excited to work with our brokers to implement those programs across the United States. And I think I just mentioned about Canada, but we're in Japan. Obviously, they too have been really shut down with COVID, but I'm looking forward to expanding that as things become more open too.
Well, you are helping a lot of dogs. And so I love that, and more power to you. I wish you great, great success, and looking forward to meeting you in person when we have our next in-person conference, hopefully next year. And thank you so much, Katie, for being with us today on Women Who Own It.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
All right. For those of you, if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, please give us a review. We really appreciate it, and share this with business owners that you care about. And until next time, Get out there and elevate yourself because you are worth it. Bye, everybody.